name is Jack Dempsey, and welcome to our Acquiring and Retaining Subscribers by Solving the Loyalty Dilemma with a New Customer Conversation webinar. Now, this is a rebroadcast from some technical difficulties we had when we actually ran this. So thank you all for coming back to listening to the rebroadcast of this session. It will be just me. Tammy will not be joining me this time because I want to record kind of the part that you didn't hear and that we had such a difficult time trying to get broadcast. So again, welcome and thank you for coming back and listening to our webinar. So what is today about? Today is really about how do we have a conversation with the customers that really does three things. It meets the customer's practical need. It addresses and meets their emotional need. And we create a low effort experience. Maybe not truly a low effort experience. Maybe it's more of just a low effort perception that the customer feels. And that's not low effort on behalf of our agents. It's low effort on behalf of the customer. So our agenda looks like this. We're going to talk about our current customer service, current customer experiences, challenges in the telecom space, telecom's competition landscape, the loyalty dilemma, and how to improve subscriber experience, and our approach, our golden touchpoint approach. And that's really what this is about. So me, a little background of me. I have been in the call center world and training world for a long time. I have worked with companies in all 50 states, Australia, New Zealand, England, Ireland. I've worked with companies and agents, thousands, 20, 30,000 people in my career. And I don't know if that makes me an expert, but what I do know is I know a lot of things that work. I know a lot of things that don't work. I'll be sharing some of those things with you as we continue through this webinar. So let's talk about what today's really about and what it isn't about. Technology and behavior. The longer I'm in this business and the more call centers I go into and the more customer service people I speak with, the more I see companies trying to solve problems that are behavioral with technology. Now that technology is a good thing, but you don't solve behavior problems with technology. It's just a whole lot easier to manage, isn't it? It's easier to say, follow this technology than it is to manage a human being, and it is to coach and lead a human being. So we think if we just get that right technology piece in place, if we are just able to get that perfect technology piece in place, the behavior won't be quite as important. And so companies spend millions upon millions of dollars a year on trying to perfect the technology, when really what they need to be working on, in our opinion, is the behavior of their agents. That behavior makes all the difference in the world. The greatest technology without the right behavior doesn't help. One of our clients is a large hospital, and we were talking with them one day about their behavior, about patient satisfaction. And we looked at the hospital, and the technology inside a hospital is phenomenal. For everything from electronic medical records to the MRIs to just the technology in a hospital is phenomenal. Yet, if nobody showed up for one full day, if none of the employees showed up one full day, what good is all that technology? It can't do anything by itself. Oh yeah, we have IVRs, but where do customers go after the IVR? To a human being. Well, we can send out surveys automatically. Great. Who needs to read it? A human being. So bottom line is technology drives you to behavior. And our goal here is to help behavior. When you affect behavior in a call center, you affect employee engagement, you affect customer engagement, you affect customer satisfaction. It's just a fantastic process when you affect behavior. But not most, let me rephrase that. Many call centers are afraid of the behavior aspect. One agent out of a 400-seat call center does something that's crazy, and all of a sudden the entire call center has this new rule, this new law that people have to follow. So we try to put policies and procedures in place instead of managing individual agents. I suggest to you, and certainly Pretium believes, that if we can affect the individual agents and get the critical mass on board, the technology becomes even more valuable. So bottom line is, we're technology agnostic. We don't care what technology you have in place. It's all going to boil down to behavior and how that human interacts with the technology and how that person interacts with your customer. So let's talk about improving your subscriber experience. Let's talk about the competition. The competition and pressures on margins are very difficult for companies right now. In the telecom world, it's a very mature market. So how do you grow a telecom business? Well, you steal it. You steal it from your competition. So if you imagine a big bucket, and the bucket has a bunch of holes in it where you're losing subscribers to your competition, and you're putting subscribers into the top of the bucket, but you're losing. At one point we worked with a business division of a cable company, and they were bringing in this small group was bringing in about $187,000 a month worth of new revenue, and they were losing over $200,000 a month in revenue. Now the funny thing is that the sales department were patting themselves on the back, and operations is going, we're in trouble. And so how do you plug the holes in the bucket, and how do you keep filling it? Well, when everything's perceived equal, and so much of it is in the telecom world, people buy on price, you've got to get service as a differentiator. Service becomes the true differentiation piece between the technology, the service, and your company. So in order to retain existing subscribers, attract others away from satellite operations or telecommunications carriers or cable, depending on what side of the fence you're on listening to this, you've got to meet the customer on the front line where it counts. And your agents have to be proactive about addressing that customer to create the exact conversation and touch point that you want to create. You can do this in voice, chat, email. The Golden Touchpoint, the program we're talking about today, will work in all three of these. It will probably even work in snail mail, although we don't have any statistics on that, and I'm not sure who uses it that much anymore. So what about the on-premise technicians? For a long time working in the cable world, I always knew that our cable techs needed customer service skills. They need to know how to talk to a customer. I remember a call as a trainer, I fielded it in a training class. We were nesting a new hire class, and one of the new hires raised their hand and said, I need help with this. And I took the call over, and we had a customer who had just had cable installed and was kind of complaining about the cable company. The customer says, you know what, I'm so frustrated right now, I think I'm going to go to satellite. Just forget it. And our tech, the cable tech, said, that's what I did. And so when you've got techs out in the field in a customer's home, they need to know how to provide great customer service. So let me ask you a question, and this is obviously rhetorical because you're listening to this, but do your customer-facing employees know how to deliver your brand promise and create loyal subscribers? Or are they only focused on delivering that practical need to that customer? Are they only focused at delivering only on that practical need the customer has? And if that's the case, then that's a concern, right? You've got customers, most customers we deal with are human. Right? Most. Some I question. But since they're human, they have an emotional need. And we really have got to learn. Our agents have to learn how to address that emotional need. And once they do, the sky's the limit. We can truly drive subscriber growth. Now, what happens if you can drive subscriber growth? Well, a lot. All of a sudden, your call center can become a profit center and just a cost center. So often we've got, we hear in our call center, drive costs down, drive average handle time down, drive this down. We start managing by the numbers, and it becomes very management by the numbers. We forget that there's people in place. I've seen people fired because over a 2-week period, their average handle time was 12 seconds higher than it was, quote, supposed to be. They didn't coach it. They just kept telling the person, get it down, get it down, get it down. And the person didn't. And they have to, you've got to coach them. They're human beings you're working with. You can't just manage by the numbers. You can't say hit this number. You've got to teach them how and what it means. And first of all, is that number even the right number? So those are the things you have to ask yourself. But with the right coaching and the right behavior, your call center can be much more valuable with the numbers. So better results require a different approach. Einstein said it best. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I've been into call center after call center, and they want to change, they want to improve. But they don't want to approach it differently. Well, if I always go in this direction, I'm always going to get this scenery. Always. If this is the route I take, I'm going to see the same thing every day. Oh, there might be a few differences, a bird here or there, some other things that are different, but I'm going to see the same scenery every day. Well, to really create a difference, to really bump up the quality of your call center, you've got to make some real changes. Okay? The nature of the interaction itself must fundamentally change. I've seen a lot of new initiatives come on board. I've seen companies do it wrong. Well, let me put it that way. I've done it wrong in the past as well. You can't just apply a new coat of paint and pretend everything's okay. So what happens is they'll have a new training initiative and they'll have the same call quality sheet. And they might change a line or two in the call quality sheet, but not much more than that. And they expect agents to adopt this new methodology, this new way. Well, they're not going to adopt it if they're being measured an old way. Why would I adopt something new if you're going to measure me the old way? I won't. And so that becomes very important to understand that agents must fundamentally change how they're measured if you're going to change fundamentally how they approach the call. And our suggestion to you is that the customer needs to be at the call, in the center of the call, not your systems. Okay? So an entirely new conversation. It's structured interaction between the agent and the consumer. Structured, not meaning that it's scripted, but I know when I take that call, thank you for calling my cable company. This is Jack. How may I help you? From that second, my goal is to not only meet their practical need, listen and learn and address their emotional need, create a low effort experience, and in the end, create a loyal promoter. And a loyal promoter is somebody who's loyal to your company. In other words, they don't have to worry about them leaking out one of the holes in the bucket, and they're going to tell other people how great you are. Okay? So let's talk about this low effort. Now, our next webinar is going to be all about low effort, but let's address it here. So what is low effort? The Customer Contact Council did some studies a while back, I say a while back, about a year ago, maybe a little longer now, that they really looked at loyalty. What truly creates loyalty in a customer? It wasn't customer satisfaction. It wasn't price. It wasn't a lot of things. What they found out is loyalty is affected by effort. Customers want low effort. The lower the effort you get, the easier you are to do business with for that customer, the more loyal they become. Loyalty is the greatest predictor of profitability. Now let's see. I want to be profitable. The greatest predictor of profitability is loyalty. The greatest predictor of loyalty is low effort. Maybe we should focus on that. So this program, our Golden Touchpoint program, was built around creating a low effort perception. We'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. But there's a lot of uncertainties. Anytime a customer calls in, they're uncertain. Uncertainty creates a higher effort perception. If I don't know what's going on or how long it's going to take, I become uncertain. If I'm uncertain, I feel like there's more effort coming out of me. So think about it. What affects effort? By the time that customer gets on that phone with your frontline agent, what's affected their effort? Well, prior experiences. I know when I call my cable company, and I have broadband internet through my cable company, that when I call my cable company, I'm going to get at least 4 minutes in an IVR. Between wait times and press this and press that and what's this about, and you try to talk to them, and it's kind of funny because they really get frustrated at the IVR because they'll say, enter in your account number. It's a 15-digit account number. I enter it in or I say it, and the computer will say, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. And I always chuckle at the I'm sorry, because here's this computer, this IVR, this electronic voice trying to pretend to be human saying I'm sorry. Now, do I as a customer really think that the computer's sorry? Well, no. So now I get more frustrated. So prior experiences, the complexity of a problem. If I have a problem that I know the IVR cannot solve, then I have a complexity. Now I don't want to get involved in the IVR. I just want to zero out. But now, IVRs have gotten intelligent. They won't let you zero out. I'm sorry, I didn't get that. I'm sorry, that's not a valid selection. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I a lot of call centers train customer service people to say I'm sorry. And that really frustrates me. So I'm going to kind of do a little bit of an editorial here. I'm sorry has gotten to be kind of like, excuse me. Well, excuse me. I bumped into somebody or I'm in a crowd. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And it doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry gets to the point that the customer doesn't care whether you're sorry or not. Fix the blooming problem. Don't just tell me you're sorry. Give me a solution. I'm sorry doesn't solve my problem. And it's really kind of this fake empathy because they don't mean it. A while back, my wife and I were having dinner, and we were having this conversation about I'm sorry. And I told her, I said, you know, people say it, they don't even realize it. She goes, you really think so? I go, yeah. They say it, and they don't really mean it. And she goes, no, I think if somebody says they're sorry, I think generally people do mean it. I think they're sincere about it. I said, I don't think so. We're sitting in a restaurant, and you know, we're in a booth, and she's on one side of the booth, I'm on the other side of the booth, and we had ordered, and it's taken a while as we're having this conversation to get our meal out, and not inordinately long, just a little longer than I guess we'd expected. Well, finally the waitress comes by and she brings us our food and she puts it down in front of us, and she goes, I'm sorry it's taken so long to get this out of the kitchen. And I looked at the waitress and I said, are you really? And she paused and turned back and looked at me and she goes, am I really what? I said, are you really what you said you are? And I looked over at my wife, and my wife's, you know, hands are over her face and her head's down thinking, oh my God, just shut up, Jack. And I looked back at the waitress and said, are you really what you said you are? She goes, I don't know what you mean, sir. I said, well, you came to the table and you said you were, are you? She goes, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, I just want to know if you really are. She goes, am I really what? So this went on for just a little bit more, and I won't belabor it, but I finally said, are you sorry? And she rolled her eyes, says, well, of course I am, and she walked away. I looked at my wife, and my wife was just embarrassed because I was doing this in front of her, and I said, see, people say it, and they don't even mean it. They don't even know it. Well, don't let your people get into the I'm sorry spiral. You know, customers don't want to hear I'm sorry. They want to hear you're going to solve the problem. Let's get it taken care of. Be proactive. And there's a whole different way to apologize that if you want to know how to apologize, send me an email at the end of this and I will teach you actually how to apologize. So you have the context which the problem has arisen, the emotional need tied to the problem. You know, if I've got a bunch of people over at my house for a fight and I have cable and I have a pay-per-view and all of a sudden my cable goes out, well, now my emotional need tied to the problem has just gone up, hasn't it? Conditions immediately preceding the contact. You know, so there's a lot that goes into effort. Your agent with the right tools that we train can actually reduce the perception of that effort because we can create certainty around the uncertainty. So the golden touch point is a formula for low effort customer service conversation. You take a practical need, add the emotional solution and the low effort piece, and you create value and loyalty. So the first thing that we teach our agents to do in training is identify the subscriber's practical problem or issue. Now, after you do that, you got to engage the subscriber in a way that eliminates emotional barriers and creates emotional buy-in. So how do we do that? We set expectations in the right way and we take on uncertainty. So let me kind of give you how I hear it when you call in. So I call into my telecom and I have a problem. And so I call into the telecom and I get the IVR. Enter this number, enter that number. So I enter all the numbers. So immediately somebody answers the phone. Finally, I get to a live human being. After I've waited, you know, our approximate wait time is 7 minutes. Your call is important to us. Their approximate wait time is 5 minutes. So I know I've got to do it. And I've got this emotional frustration already because I've got to go through all this, right? So and we'll talk about chat when we get through with this. So I've got this emotional thing already going on. Finally, they answer the phone, and it goes like this. Thank you for calling cable company. This is Jack. May I have your telephone number, please? Well, I just put it in the IVR. Yes, but I need to verify it. So here's my telephone number. May I have your address, please? Yeah, here's my prop. All right. And then, so what's happened, as soon as that person answers the phone, I've got all this pent up frustration. I'm in a hurry. And the system now is guiding my conversation versus the agent and me guiding the conversation. It's the system. I've got to enter it in. So realize you're dealing with a human being. You're not dealing with a computer program. So what's important here is to change the order in which things occur. Now this is a trained skill. This is a learned skill. So in other words, it would be, thank you for calling cable company. My name's Jack. How may I help you? Can you explain your problem to me? Yeah, I've got this problem. I've got that problem. Okay, so this is happening. This is what's going on. So I get the problem out first. Then, and this is important, I set an agenda to take away the uncertainty. All right, what I need to do for your safety is verify some information on your account. I'll pull up your account. We'll do some basic troubleshooting online. It'll take about 5 to 7 minutes. If we can't fix it over the phone right now, we will go to plan B and I'll get somebody out there as quick as I can. How does that sound? Now, that final question is how does that sound is vital because it gets the customer to buy in. When the customer says yes, they own that transaction. They own that agenda. And immediately they have certainty around where there was uncertainty. And boom, the effort will fall low because now I know what's going to happen. So now I say, can I have your telephone number? May I have your address? Let me pull up your account. I see what's happening. I'm going to send a refresher hit to your box. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do these things here. And we'll see if we can't fix it right now over the phone. Okay, I go through all that. We can't fix it. I'm going to need to send somebody out there and fix it. I'm going to send somebody out there to take a look at it. So if you'll hold on just a second, let me pull up a time that's good for you and good for them. Is that okay? Wait for that buy-in, yes. So I'm going to do this in a way that puts the customer at the center of the conversation. I'm going to meet the practical, I'm going to meet the emotional, I'm going to meet the low effort needs. Now, emotional comes in a lot of different ways. If they're frustrated because their kids can't watch TV, they're frustrated because their telephone line's down and they use it for business or afraid of emergency phone call. I'm going to say, hey, let's get this phone up and working for you because I know you've got that emergency phone call you're looking for. We'll do it right now. I'm going to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to match their sense of urgency emotionally. That is a on-purpose skill to address the emotional piece for that customer. I have to be intentional and proactive in blending my product, system, and behavioral skills. I've got to put the subscriber at the center of the interaction, not my systems, not my process. And I have to close the call by tying value back to the organization. These are specific skills. Now, see, what happens is the reason our agents don't do this right now because they're not trained that way. They're not trained in a way that they learn to do it. Why? Because look, think of how they're trained. Day one as a new hire, I get all company HR stuff, right? I get, here's how you get paid, here's the benefits, I sign up all these papers, I take a tour. It's HR day, day one. Day two of week one, I usually start systems training. So here's our billing system, here's our CRM system, here's our provisioning system, here's our travel ticketing system, here's our, and I can go on, but you all know the systems I'm talking about. And systems training, when I was in the cable company, was 3 weeks long. 3 weeks of intensive systems training. Now we were able to cut that down to about 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. But we trained it in a system silo. Here's all the systems. So we're cramming all the system knowledge into the new hire. Once they get out of systems training, they go into product training. Now, often product training is with a different trainer. Product training is focused around what products do we have to offer, what's the features of them, sometimes not even what the benefits, what there should be, but it's about the features of the product, what the product is. We have subject matter experts who talk about the product, but not how the product relates to the customer like they should. So we give this silo of product training, and then we give a silo of basic customer service skills that are usually done in a vacuum. Meaning, here's how to be nice, here's how to put people on hold, here's what you do here, you know, we kind of give it in a vacuum, in an academic world of how customer service would be. And then we've trained it in silos. So we've trained the system silo, the product silo, and the customer care silo. We then put them in a room and say, all right, now you go talk to our customers and have fun connecting the dots between those silos. And agents give us this deer in the headlight look, and I go, okay. And on the first call they take, they don't know how to blend those skills. They can't blend the product skills with the system skills. And this came out, and one of the reasons I developed, and we developed the Golden Touchpoint, because when I was in charge of training at a call center, we had a young agent in a nesting program who we were walking the floor, coaching, And she says, okay, what do I do? She raises her hand and you kind of go over there and say, all right, what's up? I got a customer who wants to cancel their cable subscription, their video subscription. I said, okay, so show me what you're looking at on the account. So she shows me what she's looking at. I said, all right, so they are just a video customer. She goes, yes. So how do I say that? I go, sell internet. She looked at me, kind of inquisitively like, no, you didn't hear me, did you? And I said, yeah, sell internet. She goes, no, they don't want to buy anything. They want to cancel. I go, I know, sell them internet. She goes, they didn't call to buy internet. They called to cancel. How do we stop them from canceling? I said, by selling internet. She goes, they didn't ask for internet. I go, I know, but sell them internet. Well, how do I do that? I go, ask them if they have a computer, if they connect to the internet. She goes, okay, do you have a computer connected to the internet? They go, yes. She goes, well, are you aware that you can get some very good pricing if we bundle this with the video and the internet? No. Well, our internet's superior. And they started talking. Well, sure enough, they bought internet and kept their video and reduced their video bill, but added more as far as the monthly payment into the company because they added the double play and they added internet. And she hung up the phone and she said, well, I would never have thought of that because they didn't, because she would never have thought of that because we trained her in silos. At that point, I had to do something different, and we rewrote the entire customer service training, new hire, into chunks. And how we did that was we wrote it into chunks. So chunk one was literally how to use the phone. Day one, chunk one was assistance piece, how to use the phone. Chunk two was how to answer the phone and set that agenda I talked to you about. Then we practiced 1 and 2 together. Then we added 3, how to look at a customer's account. Just tell me what you see in the customer's account. Teaching them how to survey account, how to look at the account, and then how to talk to the customer. So you do chunk 1, practice it, add chunk 2, practice chunk 2, practice 1 and 2 together. Add chunk 3, practice 3, add 1, 2, and 3 together. Do chunk 4, practice 4, add 1, 2, and 3, and 4 together. So that's how you do it. By the time you get done, you've integrated product, systems, and customer service. So the agent has learned how to connect the dots in their training. So when they hit the floor, they've done this already 100 times or more. They know what to do. They don't have to learn how to connect the dots in front of the customer. It makes a huge difference, everybody. Just a huge difference. So then at the end of the close, you've got to tie it back to the value of the customer. Thank you for being a customer of our cable company. We really appreciate the opportunity to serve you, and we hope that you get a lot of value out of it. Would you please call us if you have any more questions or problems? Sure. I've got to tie it back to the overall value of our product. That ties them down to that loyalty factor. Because when they say, yes, I like it, yes, I love it, your customer sat scores go up because they will hang up and go, man, this cable company is great. Why? Because they just told you that. So that's very important. So what is the loyalty dilemma that we talked about and we promised we were going to get to? Well, the loyalty dilemma is that proactive way that I, as an agent, can create loyalty with the customer by how I interact with them. And it's more than just solving the practical problem. It's a lot more than just solving the practical problem. It is really about solving the emotional issue more than the practical. It's really about connecting on a human level as much as it is about solving the practical need. Now, we get a lot of very technical people in our business who really pat themselves on the back of being very technically good troubleshooters, and they know the technical problem. And, it's kind of like a doctor's bedside manner. If you're dealing with a guy like Dr. House, if anybody's ever seen that, if you haven't, just take a look at it and you'll catch my reference. His bedside manner is horrible, but he's a brilliant doctor. Well, we can overlook the horribleness if we've got a brilliant doctor and we need a brilliant doctor to solve our issues and to heal us. But in the world of telecom, that bedside manner is everything, because I can go to a dozen other places and get my needs fulfilled. And you're not the only provider. You're not the only brilliant person who can solve my issue. So I really have got to learn to satisfy the emotional. Companies don't know how to teach it, and agents don't know how to on purpose do that. That's where our golden touch points. The loyalty dilemma comes in to where I have to be able to solve the practical solve their emotional, create a low effort experience to create that loyalty. And what happens is, this is the 30th call today I've taken. It's about the end of my shift. And I want to shortcut things. I want to try to get really done quick. So I'm going to do some things quicker, and I'm going to do it out of order. I'm going to do it in a way that short circuits the experience that the customer is going to have. But I'm going to solve their problem. And as long as I solve their problem and I jump through the hoops that the quality sheet tells me I have to do, I have to say their name 3 times. I have to do this. I have to do that. Now think about that for a minute. Now your quality sheet. Most call quality sheets will not solve the loyalty dilemma. Go pull out your call quality sheet and see how much of it is input based. Must say this, must say that. Did you do this? Did you put them on hold? Did you? Now, why do we do it that way? Because that is the easiest way to make it happen. That is the easiest way for us to grade a call. The problem with that is that it usually does not result in loyalty. It results into compliance. The call quality sheet should be output based. It should be based on what I accomplished with the customer, not my input. My input may vary from customer to customer. In fact, it should vary because each customer is different. Customers get upset when they feel like a number. So the loyalty dilemma can only be solved when you connect with me as a customer. Loyalty is not a practical, technical decision. It's an emotional decision. Loyalty is an emotional decision. I'm loyal because I feel loyal to you. Why do I feel loyal? No, I'm loyal to my mechanic. Why? Because my mechanic is incredibly technical and very good, and I trust him. Trust, an emotion. Yes, it's an emotion. Loyalty is an emotional. You will never generate loyalty by just solving the practical. So the loyalty dilemma is I've got to solve the practical, but I also have to get the emotional and the low effort in there. If I do that, I'll get a loyal customer who will promote my company and the value of my company and keep buying more. So I plug the holes and I get to add more into the top. How cool is that? And we, it seems like in telecom, are the worst at driving loyalty out of our market because we focus solely on the practical. So what does it look like? Well, the Golden Touchpoint is a customized. I say customized. It's built on the skeletal muscular system like a human being, but everybody looks different. But everybody has, the same amount of bones, the same muscle structure for the most part. Yet we all look different. Why? Well, because we're genetically different. But we all have one heart, and we all have the liver, and we all have those same components, and the and the radius and the ulnas and all the other pieces of our body. We look different. Well, that's what we do. We take that basic structure and we teach agents how to engage your customer uniquely to solve that individual customer's practical, emotional, and create a low effort experience. We build loyalty. We intensify promotions and we reduce subscriber churn. We do it by using a combination of training, coaching, consulting, and sustainment. The sustainment piece. You don't want to bring a program in that is solely a flavor of the month. It will confuse your agents and it will just send the wrong vibe. And agents will say, yeah, fine, I'll do this for a little bit and everybody will forget about it and they'll go on to the next flavor of the month. So you don't want to do that either. Okay? So we start with the supervisors. That's where we start. You have to train the supervisors and the quality people how to coach. Now, a coach is somebody who's passionate about the performance of another person, not somebody who's passionate about the compliance of another person, about the performance. Compliance and performance are two different things, or at least they should be in your call center. If compliance and performance are the same thing, you've got some issues. I've got to have more than compliance. I have to have I have to have performance, not conformance. All right, so I have to infuse my brand promise into the subscriber experience because that's what marketing is going out with. Met with a CMO of a fairly large telecom, and he actually said, look, we actually dumbed down that was his words, not mine. We actually dumbed down our brand promise because we don't believe the call center and the agents can deliver on it. So we don't want to set ourselves up for failure, so we dumb it down. We bring it down. We change it because we can't live up to what we promise. So sustainment is that piece that keeps it going long after it's trained, that has the right tools and the right parts of it that allow it to keep going long after the training has happened. And that's very easily done, and we can do that with how this program works, is what we can do. All right, so what about the numbers, Jack? What about first contact resolution, average handle time, cross-selling, customer retention, engagement, net promoter score, loyal promoters? What about all those things? Well, like anything, you know, I was asked when we were doing we were working with a Fortune, a global 250 company, and one of their VPs of customer care, and part of it was our sales presentation to them, said, what do you think about average handle time? And he had all his lieutenants around him, and we're in this conference room, and it's kind of a trick question. But honestly, I told them what I actually thought. I said, you know, average handle time is a great way to run a call center. You have to worry about average handle time on the whole call center. That's how you staff, that's how you budget, that so much drives average handle time. You know, that's how you know when my peak times are and when it's going to be, and there's so much about average handle time that's very important. It gets my staffing levels correct. It's a great way to run a call center. It's a horrible way to run an agent. He looks and says, well, explain. An individual agent, their average handle time will vary. But what most of the time happens is that average handle time becomes a math problem. I know what my budget is. I divide it by how many agents I have, and I say each of you have got to have this average handle time. Now, my tier 2 agents will always have a higher average handle time. Why? Well, because they have more complicated. Okay, we'll give them that. That's the wrong way to do it. It's about how do I coach and guide each individual agent. And I've had call centers that, look, we don't have time to coach agents that way. That's your job. That's what you really get paid for. And they had gotten so off of coaching individual agents and really driving individual agent performance and just managing by the numbers that the thought of going back and having to actually coach was frightening to them, I guess. So anytime you try something new, average handle time goes up for a little bit. Under the golden touch point, statistically, what we have found is that average handle time will go up about 17 to 22 seconds. But after they get used to handling it this way, once they get used to putting the customer in the middle and taking out the uncertainty, you get less objections, you get less issues, customers coming up, you get quicker to the resolution. Average handle time actually falls lower than where it was originally at because they learn how to handle the call. First contact resolution. Let's mention that a little bit too, I guess. We all pat ourselves on the back that we get first contact resolution. Hey, we're so good, we got first contact resolution. It's fantastic. Look at us, we've got first contact resolution. Look at our first contact, look at our FCR numbers. Well, realize that you may be patting yourself on the back for it, but you may not get any mileage from it from your customer. Won't they want that? Well, yes, they do. Think about it. Think about a restaurant. You know, you go into a restaurant, or you're going to try a new restaurant. You go online and you pull up the restaurant reviews. And the restaurant reviews are good. How many of you have ever seen a restaurant review somewhere saying, this new restaurant is awesome, they have clean dishes? Clean dishes? It's in the review. Well, why don't you ever see that in the review? Well, the reason you don't see that in the review is that it's expected. Now, if the dishes were dirty, you would see that, right? Dirty dishes, don't eat there. But clean dishes are just the price of entry. Well, when I call your call center, I may be totally expecting clean dishes, our first contact resolution. So when you meet that first contact resolution and you meet my expectation, and I thought that was a minimum expectation, you don't get any kudos for it. I don't go tell my friends and family, hey, they solved it the first call. Why? Because I expected you to solve it on the first call. So be careful with that first contact resolution number. Realize that even though that may be high, you may not be getting the kudos and the points from it that you'd really like to have. Okay? You may not be getting that. So, you know, cross-selling. Just like the story I told you earlier about, you know, sell internet. Cross-selling is vital, but I have to understand the emotions of the customer, not add a tagline of, do you want fries with that? Not, I've seen customers who've had an outage, every other day for the last 3 days, and because of the call monitoring form, the agent has to try to sell something additional. And the agent rolls her eyes and feels horrible by saying, would you like to buy this? And knowing the customer's going to say, why would I buy something new from you when you can't even service what I'm having from you right now? But no, I have to say it. So we force compliance over performance. Employee engagement. When employees have these new skills, the golden touchpoint skills, they can handle customers better. It reduces their anxiety. We go through all this effort trying to hire the temperamental employee. We test, we train, we do all this stuff. And we say we want you for your personality. We want you to love our customers. And then we give them a script that takes their entire personality out of the conversation, out of the equation. And it reminds me of another story, of course. But it's about the city guy who decided he was going to take up hunting. He was going to go quail hunting. Well, he was told by somebody who's done a lot of quailing, well, you need a dog. So he finds this guy who breeds hunting dogs out in the country and breeds Brittany Spaniels, and went out there, and the farmer who bred, champion Brittany Spaniel hunting dogs, said, here, take this one out and hunt with it. So I said, great. So the city guy got his gear on and went out hunting with his dog and came back, and the dog breeder says, how did it go? The city hunter said, man, I don't know, your dog's weird. You'd be walking through the woods, the dog come to a perfectly standstill, raise its paw, tail would go straight, that little bobtail would come out, and it would just look, and it would just stare, and it would stare, and it wouldn't move. So, after kicking him a few times, I finally broke that habit. And it's kind of like, well, you just broke the habit that I tried to inbred in them. That's what they're supposed to do. Well, we hire agents the same way. We hire agents for what they're supposed to do, and then we screw their conduct down so tight, and we script it so tight that they can't move. They can't be themselves. And so that creates anxiety among our agents and creates disengagement in employees. And so it's important that employee engagement, we allow them to let their personality come out and allow them to really work with the customer. Take those shackles off of them and really allow them to grow their personality, give them a skill set. And then don't focus on compliance, focus on performance. That will increase your net promoter score. If you don't know what that is, there's a lot on the internet about it. It's from a guy named Fred Reichheld in The Ultimate Question, and a lot of companies are using it. And then create a loyal promoter. A loyal promoter is somebody who's loyal to your company and will promote your company and tell other people how good your company is. Great customer service differentiates you from your competition. It's intentional and proactive. It's not by accident, and it's not reactive like so many companies do it. It's proactive. It's engaging that customer in a way that meets their practical, emotional, and low effort needs. It must be trained, coached, and of course it must be led. It doesn't just happen. So how do we make it happen? Well, this is our sustainability model, and we can send you a copy of this if you would like. It's certainly on our online. But we have, to create sustainability in an organization, you have to have organizational commitment. The senior leadership has got to buy into this. And of course, you do a current state. We define program outcomes. We look at all the things we want to change. We customize based on that discovery, and then we facilitate the new process. So we talk about true performance coaching. It's our coaching model. Our golden touchpoint training for frontline employees. We have online support modules. So after they come out of training, after about 4 weeks out, they start taking some online modules. Those online modules are to bring them back to the standard of the golden touchpoint training, so it doesn't get rounded off, so it doesn't get shortcut. So that's very important. All right. When we train this in a call center, we train a class, we put them on the floor, we have a Pretium coach on the floor with them to get that initial behavior right, because you got to get it right early on, shortly after the training. You got to keep coaching. So it's like an airplane flying at 35,000 feet. I fueled the plane, I've got it at 35,000 feet. If I run out of gas at 35,000 feet, well, gravity's going to take over. And I'm going to be headed toward Earth really quick. Well, after they come out of training, you need a coach on the floor to coach the coaches, to coach the supervisors and the managers and the frontline people to keep that that behavior fueled until they can sustain it on their own. And again, more coaching with the supervisors. You have to measure it. You have to fulfill, sustainability roles and responsibilities. We have to know who's responsible to keep it going, and we have to provide ongoing coaching and support, which is what we do. The sustainability piece is extremely important because you want to avoid. This is a big investment, not as much as a technical investment, not as much as a systems or a technology investment, but it's investment in people. And often we get call centers going, well, I don't want to invest that much in my people because we have high turnover. Hold on. You don't want to invest much in your people because you have high turnover. Well, how does that work? Well, high turnover, invest in people. Maybe if I invested in people, I would have a lower turnover. What do you think? Oh, well, that's like, a policeman pulling over speeding, and you're saying, well, I was running out of gas and I was trying to hurry up and get to the gas station. Does that work? Well, that's kind of, that doesn't work. It may sound right, but there's something not right about that. Okay? So as you can see, some of our results, these are some things we've got over in Spain. Like I said, we've done this in a lot of different countries, and this was the most recent full set of data that we had. But you can see, Germany, 16.7 increase. This is a net promoter score from the Golden Touchpoint. The fantastic thing, this was over a year ago, and the results are still coming in, which is exactly what we want. So you can take a look at that, and if you want some more information on that, I can also send you the entire case study for Philips. Some feedback. I'm going to go to the third one down. I tried the Golden Touchpoint techniques during my first few calls back on the floor. I was stunned at how well they worked. I love that. I was stunned. They think it won't work because it's too simple, it's too easy. These techniques are proven. They're battle tested. They were forged under fire. So that's why they work. The Golden Touchpoint is firmly in place, continues to go well. Remember what I said 6 months ago. If our people are still talking about the Golden Touchpoint in 6 months, it will have been a huge success. Well, they're still talking about it. Yay, we like that. That's the sustainability piece. So management likes it, frontline likes it. That's the secret to sustainability. Everybody believes in it and buys into it and are motivated to execute on it. So what's a typical engagement like? Well, first, obviously, there has to be an organizational commitment. Now, sometimes we don't get that until we really know that the Golden Touchpoint can really make a difference in your business and how your call center operates, how your frontline people operate. But we have to do the right due diligence because the program has to be written where agents do not have to connect the dots. The training connects the dots for them. So we don't want to train in silos. We have to identify baseline metrics. How do we know we succeed? And those are identified up front. We customize the program. We then facilitate it with management and frontline people. We do the performance coaching, the online support modules, and we measure and reassess. It's a constant, it's like driving. You don't just get behind the wheel and lock the steering wheel in place, even on a long straight road. The steering wheel has to move. You've got to be able to move in between your lanes. And it's a constant series of constant adjustments. And that's any new process or any process you have in place. It's always a series of little adjustments to keep it on track. And that's vital. So, we would like the opportunity to work with your company. If you're looking for a program, if you're looking to do something different, would love the chance to just talk with you and just see if what we can do helps or how we can help you do it on your own. We'll be glad to do that as well. Some of our customers we've worked with, take a look at some of those. We've done work with them, and that's pretty exciting. Some great companies there. And again, my name is Jack Dempsey. I'm with Pretium Solutions. My cell phone number, and call me direct if you have any questions, please. 314-322-1494. Again, my cell phone number is 314-322-1494. Or I can be reached at J Dempsey, that's J, letter J, DEMPSEY, at Pretium, PRETIUM, Solutions, SOLUTIONS.com. So jdempsey at pretiumsolutions.com. And thank you for coming back to listening to our webinar. We will fix the technical difficulties. We did find out what we did wrong, and we won't do it again. Experience is a great teacher. It just comes with some pretty high tuition sometimes. So again, thank you for joining us, and I look forward to talking with you again. Bye for now.